So who are you?
Bill Rosenkrantz, Director of Product Management for Symantec Corporation.
Very cool. And you guys are just about to announce a new product. What is it?
Correct. We're launching Norton 360 V3.
Okay. What is, for those who don't know what Norton 360 is, what is it?
Sure. So Norton 360 V3 is our all-in-one security package. Kind of protects multiple areas of a user's kind of online life. So it starts with their PC, their computer protection, their identity when they're online, and then all their data as well.
Okay. And so what's new about this?
I think first and foremost, so there's some new features, we can talk through some of that. I think most importantly is we do all that and we do it with amazing performance. You know, there's always been historically lots of discussions about security solutions in general.
Yeah.
And obviously some Norton solutions as well that kind of get dinged for, well, they slowed down my PC.
Yep.
And so we spent a majority of our development cycle really focusing on performance, performance, performance. And you'll see that in terms of install, CPU usage, which was always a big kind of concern for people, is, geez, it's slowing down my PC, scan times. So you'll see like throughout kind of the theme, we said, yeah, we can do more we can do more with the protection, but we have to do it in a way that...
No, even me, I removed it from my PC because it kept slowing down during video compiles and email, sessions and stuff like that. And you'd get, PO'd at it, and you'd say, frick it, uninstall it, now I'm unprotected again, right?
Yep, and that happened a lot. So you'll see we put a lot of energy into that particular issue. That was the first and kind of most important thing that we addressed this year in this release.
Okay. What and so how do we get it?
So you can buy it online through at Norton.com. You can also get it in retail. It takes a few weeks to get into the retail stores.
Okay. So, but it's available today. When this video gets up on Wednesday morning, it's available, and I can
Correct.
buy it right now.
Be available.
Cool. And what is Symantec seeing out there from the threats? Because I'm seeing all sorts of weird. I'm not seeing the kind of email viruses, at least personally, that I used to see 10 years ago. But I'm seeing even the threats against Facebook and stuff like that. It's really pretty crazy.
Oh, the threat environment is very dynamic and very interesting. It's shifted quite a bit. What we're seeing is, one, the web is now the platform. Yeah. So email, why is it the platform? Because everyone's using the web. Yeah. And then there's lots of ways to get people on the web. You can get them to download, they can download files. You can get them on Facebook and social networking areas. So what we're really seeing is, just a kind of frame of reference, is from 2003 to 2007, we wrote about 800,000 malware signatures. Wow. Last year alone, 1.8 million. So what we're seeing is the bad guys are getting pretty smart. Yeah. They're like, all right, I throw enough artillery over the fence, something's going to get through. So it's totally changing the environment for everybody. And they're also, like, the other major difference is we used to see one threat, and we see it on a million machines. Okay, it makes it easy for us to protect, right? Yeah. Now we're seeing a million threats on one to five machines each. Much different ballgame, much more difficult, because you can't say prevalence is how you're going to identify a threat.
No.
So it changes the whole game in terms of how we think about security, how security companies have to address it, how we build the solutions. Totally different.
What are the bad actors? What's their goal now? I mean, when they're taking over 5 machines, what are they doing with those 5 machines? And is there any way for me to sense that my machine has gotten hacked into, or do you just have to use a tool like this to ensure that you're not one of the guys who's been taken over by the bad guys?
Sure. Well, let me answer the second question first.
All
so
right.
Most people won't know. If you have a security solution, a good one, you'll be notified and protected. But there's typically not any really obvious signs. Now you may get maybe some adware or something where you see pop-ups. Yeah. But the bad guys. So your first question was, well, what are they trying to accomplish? Well, they're trying to be stealthy, so they can use your system as part of a botnet, so they can control you. They can leverage attacks from that system itself. They also maybe trying to steal your confidential data. So
my credit cards and my
login information. You sell that information online. There's lots of underground. We have actually a report on this where we went underground and watched what was happening in these chat rooms, and it's amazing. Credit cards and bank account and logins and how much they sell for, and there's a whole underground economy for this. So really trying to make money, which is why it's much different than it was 5 years ago when the email viruses came out. That was more about, I call it chest beating notoriety. It was like, hey, I want to be noticed. I want to prove I can take people down. Now it's more like, how do I go unnoticed? Yeah. How do I make sure that no one detects me so I can make money, infect as many people as possible, kind of try to get beyond antivirus signatures. It's a much different motivation.
Yeah. And how is 360? How is Symantec changing its approach to how it protects? Because in a world where you have millions of attacks on 5 machines, how do you protect? How do you change your approach? Because you're not
Sure.
watching for that one big huge virus that's spreading like crazy anymore.
So it's been a challenge. We've had a shift. So we're still using signatures. So what I call traditional antivirus signatures. What we're doing though is augmenting that with kind of additional layers of protection. So one is browser protection. So we're looking for these exploits in the browser. So these aren't files that are hitting the code, hitting the machine, which is what ultimately infects you. We're looking for, there's a vulnerability we know about, what's happening in the browser, is someone trying to obfuscate that or kind of hide that and try to attack you. We're also using a lot of heuristics, behavioral protection.
Heuristics are like a checklist, right?
Kind of. It's basically, rather than looking for a specific fingerprint of a file, we're actually looking for what is that particular application doing on your system? What are the actions it's doing? Does it look like something that doesn't look like it's doing something good? So we just kind of changed the mentality quite a bit. And then the other thing we're doing is we're actually looking at how prevalent files are. So it's actually changed the game. Before, we'd see prevalent, you'd see a trusted application that's prevalent and an untrusted application that's prevalent because it was broad attacks. Now what we're seeing is if we see 1 to 5 kind of copies of something in the web, it's actually our suspicion levels are much higher. Yeah. Because how many applications are there in the world with 1 to 5 copies we see in the world? Very, very small number. Yeah. So the likelihood that something's bad if it has 1 to 5, 1 to 5 users is much higher than what it used to be.
Interesting. Are you using crowds to sort of, detect? Tell me about
Absolutely.
how you're doing that.
So we have something called
That's pretty unique.
That is really unique. We have Norton Community Watch. We have over 20 million users. So when you install one of our products, you have the option of opting in or opting out. And what it does, it basically...
How many people opt in, by the way?
About 80%.
80%?
Yeah.
Say, help out Symantec, help out other people.
It's kind of like what I call neighborhood watch, right? Where you want to participate. And so what happens is very simple. What happens is if you're a Norton user and you go to a site that tries to infect you, it pings back to the Symantec server and says, hey, this website, abc.com, just tried to do something bad, and then multiple people will see that from multiple people. It allows us to go kind of understand what's happening on abc.com and see what threat's there.
Interesting.
Whereas if we were out looking at the web kind of randomly, the web's huge, right? There's millions or billions of pages of the web.
You can't find it all, right?
You'd be out searching for days and weeks, and you wouldn't get stuff very quickly, and you'd miss things, and then they change a lot. So it really has been very helpful to us and able to leverage that large community. Yeah.
Tell me, I get a little geeky, because I know when I worked at Microsoft, they were working with all the security vendors, and they were changing how the piping underneath Windows is actually done, so that you guys had fewer choices in some ways to study the changing behavior of files on your system and whatnot, and streams that were going by right underneath. Most people don't understand how Windows works underneath, right? But you guys can go in and study, has a file changed, or is a stream getting data that doesn't look right?
Correct.
And so tell me a little bit about what you guys are doing there, and why are you able to improve the performance so much? What happened? What did you do to study what is going on in my system differently that makes it a lot better performance?
Sure. So one of the biggest challenges with internet security products is just what you just touched on. It's, on one hand, you've got to be always on, protecting people at the lowest levels or the kernel of the PC. Yeah. At the same time, people say, don't sit on my PC, don't get in my way. So it's like, how do you put guards at every door, but when you want to walk in the front door, you're able to do so very easily. And so we have been able, all security companies are able to get in at the kernel level, or very low levels of the operating system. It's really a race. You want to get in the lowest level in the operating system, the lowest layer, so that you can watch what's happening and not have someone below you. So that's continued to be the case. Obviously, we work with Microsoft and continue to work with them on how to protect the system. In terms of our performance, totally different story. What we did here is we asked ourselves the question across the board, how do we provide this level of protection and speed up performance? And this wasn't like, let's make this 1 or 2 changes. This was, how do we transform the speed and how we think about performance? And we did a number of things. I'll tell you about a couple, and I'll show you a couple. Okay. One is, install time. Used to be 3, 4, 5 minutes for us and our competitors. We actually created our own installer from scratch and said, you know what, we're going to do it ourselves. Now we install in less than a minute. Yeah. CPU usage. We said, all right, biggest complaint people have is when I'm trying to do something that's CPU intensive, my security software seems to be slowing me down. Yeah. So we use something called...
More important, I'm using a little flip cam right now, and if you're copying over video and going to use, a video editing package and recompiling the video, you'll notice that, right?
Correct. So what we've done is we said, let's be smart about how we schedule tasks. Yeah. What we'll do is we'll look at utilization of the PC. We'll only schedule our stuff at idle times. So if we see that you're a heavy CPU usage, we're going to back off. We're not going to do anything except the most critical. We're not going to scan your system. We're not going to look for performance problems. All those things, we're not going to back up your system. We're not going to start a backup when you're in the middle of copying your video files over. So it's much more contextually savvy. We're smarter about how we act.
Yeah.
And then one of the biggest improvements I'll show you is something called Norton Insight. And the fundamental challenge with every security product is, what do? They scan files. They scan when you open, they scan when you close, they scan when you download, they scan when you copy, they scan when you paste, right? They scan and scan and scan. And so what we've been able to do is leverage our community, some unique technology. So now we've reduced the need to scan by 80%.
Oh, very cool.
Which is really, I think, what makes the big difference on a day-to-day basis.
Are you doing anything for phishing? Because one of the problems that I'm continually seeing in my inbox and with my friends and normal people, not even geeks like me, they're getting these emails from what looks like Wells Fargo or a bank,
Sure.
and you can't tell. It's so hard to tell. I mean, I know how to tell because I know how to hover over a URL and really think about what that URL means and where it's coming from. But most people have no clue how to tell a real bank email from a fake one, right? So are you able to do anything with that, or are you relying on Microsoft's anti-phishing technology in its browser?
No, we actually, in part of our Norton toolbar, we have what we think is some of the best anti-phishing protection in the market. So it uses both the block list and heuristics. We've had this technology since, I want to say 2005 or 2006. We've been building it for a long time. We actually use that, and it detects things in real time as well. Phishing is a big problem. Most technical advanced users kind of know better, but a lot of the masses don't. And
I bet even the technical people get caught once in a while because I mean, now I don't even answer my real bank's email, right? If I see an email from my bank, I don't even click on anything on there. I go over to the website and I sign in from a clean website. I don't click on anything on that email because I don't even know. It's so hard to tell whether something is real or not on an email. But if you go to wellsfargo.com and start out from your own bank's homepage, I find you're pretty safe.
That's actually one of our tips. So you're a poster child for good tips. Never click on those links. Always go directly to the URL. That's the safest way.
Yeah.
Because you're right. A lot of the average user, they see 50 emails and they're like, one of those is real. It's like, which one's real? Best thing to do is go to your bank and log in, because if there's really a problem with your account.
It's too hard to tell.
Yeah,
It's too
really
hard to tell. Anyway, so let's get a demo.
Sure, let's do it.
See what's different.
Great. So I'll show you just a couple of things. We talked about the 4 major pillars.
Okay.
And I'll talk kind of some of the key points in all those areas. I'll start with performance. So first, you obviously can't tell this product's already been installed.
Yeah.
But if you were to install, you'd see a very fast install time. The next thing you'll notice right here is something that again is pretty transparent to the user, but it's
can't change, by the way, the refresh rate on this because I'm getting a roll on my camera. Let me stop the camera for a second. We'll come back. So sorry for the break, but we're going to use this monitor because it's a lot nicer than the bigger monitor.
Perfect.
So take us into the demo.
Okay, so a couple key points from performance. One of the things you'll notice here is something that's pretty transparent to the user, but this is something called pulse updates.
Okay.
And what pulse updates are is we update the product every 5 to 50 minutes automatically.
Whoa.
And what this does is a couple things. One is improves our security profile. We talked earlier about how quickly threats evolve. We've seen as many as 20,000 in a day. So if you wait till once a day, you're going to miss a lot of the day's protection. Yeah. 2, much faster. Small X kilobits, 2 kilobits is much better than a big definition package that comes down.
Yeah.
So every 5 to 15 minutes, you'll see that, and it's actually pretty transparent to the user, but provides better protection.
Very cool.
Next on the security front, I think the next most important thing. Oops, that was a click error. All right. Next thing you want to show is Norton Insight, and we talked about our scan. So this is the UI that most probably average user is not going to go look at. Advanced user might be pretty interested. And this is what tells you, and it's basically collecting the files. It will tell you exactly how much of your system has to be scanned. You'll see in this particular case that 86% of the system, of the files in the system, are known and trusted.
Yeah. Don't
need to be scanned. So what we've just done is reduce the need, and now it's 85%, sorry. We only need to scan 15% of the files in the system. And you'll see we do that because they're either Norton trusted, which means our analysts have actually looked at them, or they're community trusted, which means we've seen enough incidents of those files out in the world from our Norton Community Watch that we know statistically they're likely to be safe. And we have algorithms that say, like, if we see a million of these, even if we haven't gone and analyzed the file ourselves, we know if we've never seen a threat associated with that, there's a 99.9% chance it's a safe file.
Yeah. And that's interesting because like kernel32.dll, you know the size of that file, right? And
Correct.
you know its fingerprint. And so if something is messed with that file, it's going to look weird
It's
to
going to
you.
turn gray.
Yeah.
It's going to turn gray on the screen, and then we're going to scan it.
Yeah.
So it also allows us, and in addition to providing best performance, it also allows us to go deeper, right? Because rather than trying to scan 100% of the files on the disk and understand everything about them, we go, here's 14% we need to understand. Let's go deep and try to understand what's happening with those files.
Very cool.
So key improvement is there as well. The next area I'll just show quickly is identity protection. So you asked me earlier about phishing protection.
Yeah.
So best to see in terms of the browser, you'll see this is where our phishing protection, if we went to a phishing site, you'd see it blocked. You also, this is where we manage all your, help you manage all your confidential data. So you can manage your logins, you can auto log
that's
in,
cool.
you can autofill forms, manage that all for you.
That's cool because I use United Airlines and bank sites and FriendFeed, and you have FriendFeed in there. So it stores all my, does it store my credit card and stuff
Well,
like that?
so it does two things. This part is for logging into the site.
Yeah.
So what it will do is if you set it up, it will allow you to store and then automatically fill your password and login information. And it's encrypted, and you can set it with a login. So you can
that's really cool.
password protect it.
That's really cool because a lot of people use really bad passwords,
Correct.
right? They use like password
Yes.
to get into, FriendFeed or something. And then somebody comes along, tries password, and oh my, I can take
Yep.
over this guy's account. So you should be using, give me some password tips. You should be using something with a mixture of letters and
You got it.
numbers.
8
so
should be 8
that,
characters long, letters and numbers, no common dictionary terms.
yeah, because otherwise you can use a dictionary and look up and attack it.
Yep.
Right? So that way I can store in here really good passwords, but have one password to get into my Norton.
Correct.
Right?
Correct. And then you asked me about credit cards. There's a different feature. This is something we call identity cards.
Yeah.
So there are actually cards here where you can fill out if you want to. So let's say you have a credit card you only use online because you don't want to use it in the real world. You can set that up and you can actually fill forms automatically as well. Two different related features of Identity Safe. One's about passwords and one's about other information you want to store and fill. That's more of a convenience factor.
Very cool.
Now, the other part is Norton Safe Web. So this is a new feature in Norton 360.
Yeah.
It's a website reputation service. Let me type in just one example so you can see what it looks like.
Free DVD player.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. So what you'll see here is we've annotated the search results with, you'll see green.
Yeah, this green thing here.
Yep. Green, red, and yellow. So very understandable. It tells you site safety.
Site is unsafe.
Safe. Yep. If you want more information, what you can do is you can click on full report. It tells you specifically, so it shows you a thumbnail of the site itself.
Now you don't want anybody to write this, but this is a great way to surf porn and not get attacked, right?
Yeah, I won't comment on that, but in theory, it could be
I know
helpful.
from my relatives, that's what usually gets.
Correct. Those sites typically are most likely to give you bad things, but again, I won't talk too much about that. From the site report, it gives you details of the threat that was found.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, two other things I want to point your attention to. Number one is, let me go back here. Well, let me go and show you, I think probably one of the coolest things about Safe Web is how we've kind of approached site owners.
Yeah.
So we kind of view site owners as having, obviously site owners have a vested interest. And I told you earlier about the attack environment, how it's, very much about being attacked in broad, and they're going after a website to try to infect them. So a lot of people could have websites they don't even know have been compromised, and it can be spreading infections.
Absolutely.
So what we do here is, when you're a site owner, we allow you to come register your sites.
Yeah.
I happen to have 2 sites registered. Both are infected, as an example. But what's great about this is you can get email notifications, so we can let you know. It's almost a free service to users.
Oh, this is cool because Google will kick you off eventually if its spiders find an infection.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden you'll lose all your Google juice. This happened to my friends, and because their site was infected, they lost all their Google juice, all their traffic for 6 weeks.
Didn't even know it.
Well, the day they fixed it, right? It took another 6 weeks to get
Yep.
to prove to Google that they were okay and not infected anymore. And so this would help get on top of it really much faster.
Absolutely. You can register your site.
Yeah.
You can register for email notifications, and then it's all automated. You can, if let's say you're rated bad, something happens, you can see what the threat actually is. So you might even know what you were infected with. You can come here, see what you're infected with, and then you can try to get it fixed, or have whoever's managing your site fix it, and then you can ask for a recrawl. So it says reevaluate.
Yeah.
Automatically puts it back into the queue, so it gets scanned again. Usually happens within, I'd like to say within a day, depends on how much volume we have. And then if it comes back again, you can actually ask for manual review. So It's actually a pretty cool service for site owners, and something that we think we've done that's unique compared to our competitors here is we said, we need to embrace site owners. They're a key part of the internet. They want to know what's happening to their sites at all times, and they need to be involved.
Very cool.
And then the last thing I'll show you, I think I need to go back here to, let me go back one more. All right. Let me keep going back. Let me go to, where was it? Here, let me go to Google. So what I want to do is I want to show you,
Show me what?
I want to show you what it looks like to add if you're a shopping site. So the other area that we wanted to get some help people with is shopping sites. What we heard from our users is, hey, it's great to tell me if something's secure or not.
Yeah.
But what I also care about is I never know where to shop and where it's safe. So we added some functionality to V1 as our first release.
Okay.
And you'll see those, if it's a shopping site, you'll see a shopping cart.
Yeah.
And we've actually aggregated some information that the user would have to go find on their own, like does the site have a privacy policy? Does it have transaction protection? Does it use SSL? Use a third-party scanning service? So we've aggregated that here just to help users if they're looking at finding some small sites they want to go shop at.
That's pretty cool.
Get an
Now,
idea.
does this work with every browser, or does this only work? Do these features only work with certain browsers?
So it works today with Internet Explorer and Firefox,
Okay.
and it supports Google, Live Search, and Yahoo Search
Okay.
today.
And so Safari and Google Chrome coming, or
Something we're always evaluating. So we're always evaluating kind of reach of those browsers, and then when it makes sense to actually, but definitely something on our watch list.
of course Google Chrome and Safari are generally used by more advanced users. So
Correct.
at least mom and dad are protected here.
Correct.
Cool.
So
Anything else you got to show me?
Not on Safe Web. Let me show you just a
All
couple other quick things. Backup. I'll show you a couple of the main quick backup concepts that we did this year. Backup. So the feedback we got from our user base was twofold. One was novice users. I'm not sure how to back things up. Like, what do I do? Even though it's mostly automatic. So we have two things we'll show you. One is there's a backup tutorial that walks you step by step through the backup process. Okay?
Okay.
Point one. Point two is what you've noticed here is we've actually built very simple tabs.
Yeah.
So it's very simple. What am I going to back up? You can do a deep dive. Where am I going to back it up? And then the when automatic. The other big change we made for more advanced users was you can set up backup sets. So they said to me, what if I want to take my most important documents, my tax, my financial documents, and I want to back them up online?
Yeah.
Which Norton 360 comes with online backup. But maybe my videos and my pictures takes too much time, too much bandwidth. You can back up those locally.
How much space do you give us online?
So 2 gigabytes in the standard, 25 gigabytes in the Premier version.
And so in the where you can choose hard drive or online?
Yep.
So I can go and buy a Seagate hard drive,
Hard
plug it in
drive,
your USB
Blu-ray, your iPod, you can do it to a USB key. Anything that you can attach to your computer, you can use as a source or destination.
Very cool.
And then last, the other major enhancement we made this year was in PC Tuneup. So this is the section of the product that helps you keep your system running effectively.
Yeah.
The newest feature is Startup Manager. Now, I don't know about you, but everyone always calls me, boy, my system takes so long to start up. What's happening? And every application you install wants to put itself in your startup folder.
Yeah.
So over time, if you're kind of a basic user, you end up with this boot time that takes 3 minutes. And this is a very simple,
3?
or maybe 30. Yeah,
Try
it can
10.
or it takes a long time. And it's frustrating because you want to do something quickly.
It's very frustrating.
So what this does is it basically very simple,
Yeah.
gives you what the application is, and the most important thing is the performance impact. It tells you how much it slows down your boot time. So low is less than 10 seconds.
Yeah.
Medium is 10 seconds to a minute, and anything that's high is over a minute.
That's cool.
And you can turn it off, and you can delay it if you want to.
That's cool. Does it do anything else to help my performance at all? Or?
So the product does itself. The product actually has a bunch of functionality in it. It has a diagnostic report that I can actually show you quickly. Okay. If you go here to Diagnostic Report, it actually runs a report, and it basically does a 10-point checkup, kind of like Jiffy Lube. And it gives you the 10 areas that it's checking, your operating system, your resource utilization, and gives you a few tips on how to fix them.
That's cool.
And you can also share this with your more technical friends as well if they want to help you.
Let's say I have a really badly infected system. You've seen those, right?
Yeah.
A few of my relatives have had those
Yeah.
in the past. Does this help get a system back up and running, or do you really need to wipe the drive and start out clean?
So for that very reason, we have something called it's a boot. The disk is bootable,
Okay.
and it boots into a recovery scanner. So if we get on a system that is just, our technical term is horked, right? The thing is just like unusable. The first thing we'll do is tell you to boot with our recovery disk, and it boots into WinPE. It actually can do a full system scan and bring down the latest defs. That will often, I would say about 2/3 to 3/4 of the time that I've used that with my friends, clean up the system.
Yeah.
It's always the first step is, if I get out of the operating system into that environment, can I get it cleaned up? and sometimes when there's rootkits and other really nasty stuff in there, that's what it takes. And then occasionally, the last resort is to kind of reimage the system.
Yeah. Which is good because Windows 7 is coming out this year, so you can get new Windows 7. By the way, does this work on Windows 7?
Great. Yeah, it absolutely does. It will be fully compatible with Windows 7. So if you purchase it before Windows 7 comes out, you'll be have access to that upgrade for free as part of your subscription if you're a current subscriber.
Very cool. How much does all this cost?
The price is $79.95.
Okay.
And
is it a yearly thing or is it a one-time fee?
It's a yearly subscription.
Okay. So it's $79.95 for 1 year.
Correct.
And where do I learn more about it?
Go to norton.com and you can check out all of our products there.
Very cool. Thank you so much.
Thank you.